Hi, everyone. Thank you for checking into the Community Charging Rebates Program application information session. We'll begin shortly while folks are still continuing to filter in, so please hold tight for a few more minutes. And thanks everyone for joining. We'll give it just one more minute and I'll begin to share my screen soon. Okay, it looks like it's starting to slow down. So we will begin. So hi everyone, thank you for joining today. My name is Jenna Compton. I'm the Transportation Electrification Financial Coordinator at the Oregon Department of Transportation. I work predominantly on the Community Charging Rebates program, and with that, I'll begin introducing Brittany. Brittany, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Breen and I am a Senior Program Associate at Fourth on the Access to Charging team. Fourth is here to provide outreach, education, and technical assistance for the Community Charging Rebates program.
Great. Thanks, Brittany. And so before I begin, I would like to say that ODOT does not endorse any particular company. These applications that we're going over today are only examples. Please do not use the address or contact information in the future. And just to confirm, Brittany, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to begin with a pre-installation application, and then after this, we'll go over a post-installation application. Brittany is going to try her best to keep up with all of the questions that come in, but if we can't get to them, we will be answering them at the end of the session. If you would like to see one of the sections that I go over, or if you feel like we went over it a little bit too quickly, we can revisit it at the end as well. So beginning with section 1, we have the applicant type. You can choose between site owner, authorized agent, or third party. And if you're confused at which category you fall under, we have the definitions down below. You can also find these definitions in our guidelines as well. And so then you'll select either a pre-installation or a post-installation application. For this example, we're going to go over the pre-installation first. And then you have the contact information. So we have first and last name, and then you'll put in the email address that you want to be contacted with. So this will be the email address that will receive any updates from the application as it goes through the process. And then you'll also have your contact information with your phone number, the applicant organization name, the applicant organization type. This is a drop-down, so you can select any of these categories.
Jenna, sorry to interrupt. Some people were requesting the screen to be larger. I think if you
Oh,
take yourself off camera also, it'll make the
yeah,
screen larger.
we'll see. Did that help?
Yep, that looks better.
Okay, perfect. I'll try to center it. And so I can hold this up. And after this session, we will be posting a PDF of the application. So if any of this text is a little bit too small, you can review it on the PDF that we'll publish later today. And so going back, we have the applicant organization type. So in the dropdown, you can select any of these types depending on which one you fall under. And then moving further, we have this question: have you completed the site verification or recipient acknowledgement form? You must select yes before moving forward. If you select no, you will see an error. And then if you haven't filled out that site verification form, you can click this hyperlink here and it'll take you directly to the form. The form is currently accessible on our website. And so moving on to section 2, we have the equipment owner information. So the first question is the applicant also the EV charging equipment owner? And if you select yes, then this contact information is automatically filled out. If you select no, then you will need to fill out the information from the equipment owner. And we'll go over more of that in the post-installation application example. Is this a minority or women-owned business enterprise? You can select yes or no to this question. And then we also have the EIN right here. So you'll just enter in the EIN for the equipment owner. They will be receiving the rebate, and so you'll want to make sure that that information is correct. Once we move forward to the post-installation application process, you'll submit the W-9, and you just want to make sure that EIN number listed here matches the one that you'll be submitting later in that W-9. So this is section 3. If you ever want to move back to any of the sections too, you can just click the pages up above. Any of these 4 pages in the pre-installation application. So here is the project site information page on section 3. So we'll ask, what is the project site type? For this example, it's multifamily housing, but you can select workplace or publicly accessible parking. The project site name, for this example, we use Jane's Apartment Complex, and the project site real property owner, we selected Jane Doe, and then the project site street address. And then after that, we have the project site location type. You can select any of these. I believe if you don't see your site type listed here, you can also type in an answer as well. And then will the EV chargers be located in parking spaces that are commonly accessible and not dedicated to individual units as per the program guidelines? You can select yes or no. This is a multifamily housing question. So if you select no, you'll have to explain more, but we're going to select yes for these purposes. So then you want to list the number of housing units in the building. There must be a minimum of 5 units. And then the total parking spaces in the lot/structure. So for this example, we have 200. And of the total number of parking spaces on site, how many of those are shared or visitor parking? For this example, we put 180. And then we come to the CCR designated priority community section. In this section, how you determine if you are a priority community, non-priority community, or fall into the rural or disadvantaged category. You can find that on the map on the Community Charging Rebates program website. And so if you're having trouble finding that while you're filling out your application, if you click this link, it'll take you directly to that map. And we'll revisit after this application so I can show you the different pages with both the map, and I'll review the site verification form. So, is the proposed installation located on tribal reservation or trust land? You can select yes or no. You'll need to list the planned number of level 2 charging ports. So for this example, we have 12. There is a requirement for multifamily housing of a minimum of 4 ports and a maximum of 12 ports. If you're either a workplace or publicly accessible parking, the minimum is 2 and the maximum is 12. So do keep that in mind. And then for multifamily housing and workplace, we also have a section for the planned number of level 1 ports. So then you'll come down here and it'll show you the amount of funding that you'll be reserving, which for this example, it's $66,000. And there is a checkbox that everybody will have to check, and it states, I understand that the rebate reservation amount is an estimate only, calculated by multiplying the base rebate by the number of ports. Final rebate levels are awarded based on the lesser of the reserved amounts or 75% of eligible per project costs. This may result in a final rebate that is less than the amount of the reserve funding. And that's just, we need you guys to check that just to confirm that you acknowledge that statement. So then you come down and you'll select the electric utility that the project site is located at. And all of them should be listed in this dropdown. So for this example, we selected Salem Electric. Does your utility offer incentives for commercial, workplace, or multifamily housing level 2 chargers? You can select no, but for this example, we'll select yes. And will you apply for the electric utility incentive? Yes. And so then you'll want to list the amount that you'll be receiving from your utility. It can be an estimate if you're not sure how much you're going to get, but you have an idea. We will clarify later in the post-installation portion of the application if these numbers don't match. So we will request more information if that's the case. And then down here we have please upload the site verification and recipient acknowledgement form. This is where you're going to submit that form. And again, we have a hyperlink, so if you're not sure where that form is, you can just click the hyperlink. And then something to be mindful of is it does say, please note only wet signatures or those made with a verifiable e-signature platform like DocuSign will be accepted. Typed signatures will result in an incomplete application and it will be sent back to the person who submitted the application. And that correction will be requested. So then you'll have to update the project quote here. And in that project quote, we'll want to see the number of ports by power level, the project site address, and the total estimated project costs. Failure to include that information will result in an incomplete application. And we do state that you'll get marked off here and the application will get sent back, because that would, once you go back and correct those errors and resubmit, it would put you at the end of the queue. So this rebate is first come, first served. So those are something to keep in mind when you're filling out the application. You'll want to do it right the first time. And then we'll go to the signature page. So at the signature page, you'll have to check off all of these requirements. I've read and agree to the requirements outlined in the Round 2 program guidelines. I've uploaded the following documentation, and here's a list of all the documentation. If you're needing to find a W-9 or any other information, we do have that hyperlinked here. And then we also have the site photos that we're going to request during the post-installation down here. So do keep that in mind. And I certify under penalty and perjury that to the best of my knowledge, the information provided in this application and supporting documentation is accurate. We've also added this new feature with a comment box for the application reviewer. So if you ever run into any issues throughout the application, or if you maybe typed something in incorrectly just so you could move forward, you can just let us know right here and say maybe, for some reason the application wasn't letting me move forward if I selected no. So for this question, I selected yes, and here's why. But the intention was to select no, and so the reviewer will go through and be able to see that before marking you as incomplete for maybe selecting no for something, and we can make that correction for you and move forward with your application. And then we'll request a signature as well as the date. And at the bottom, you'll see we have a submit button. Once you're finished with the application, you'll select the submit button. But if at any point in time, say you finish pages 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you want to save your application, you can click the save button. And then if you click this save button, it'll request an email address. You'll type in your email address, and then you'll get sent the saved version of that application. So make sure if you're stopping halfway through that you don't forget to click that save button. Perfect. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. Or I guess, yeah, with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and move on to the post-installation application. Okay, let's see. Try to make this bigger for everyone. Okay, and Brittany, can you confirm, are you able to see this? Should say third party for applicant type.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. Oh, and just another note, your application ID is at the top of this application. It'll normally say CCR-1- and then after the dash, it'll have your application ID. You'll want to send that application ID to us anytime you correspond with ODOT or Forth about an application. That's the way that we can track your application down really easily. And so moving down to section 1, as you can see up top too, the post installation includes more pages. So it includes pages 1 through 6 instead of just 4 pages. So for section 1, we have the application type. Again, you can select any of the 3. For this one, we're going to do third party. Are you applying pre-installation or post-installation? We'll select post-installation. And then you'll want to fill out the applicant contact name. And then you'll also fill out the contact phone number, the organization name, and the organization type. For this example, we're going to do an EVSP. Then you'll continue on. So have you completed the site verification and recipient acknowledgement form? We'll select yes. So moving on to section 2, we have the equipment owner information again. So for this example, we didn't select yes to this question. Is the applicant also the EV charging equipment owner? And since we selected no, we had to fill out more contact information for the equipment owner. We also ask who the equipment owner's organization is. For this one, it's a local government. Is it a minority or woman-owned business? They selected no. And then we'll ask for that EIN of the equipment owner. So for section 3, we have the project site type. And we selected publicly accessible parking instead of workplace or multifamily housing. The project site name, for this one we just went for library. The project site real property owner, which is the city of example. And then the example of the street address. Moving forward, we have the project site location type. And so when I went down through this list below, I did not see library listed, so I was able to type it in. So if you don't see your site location listed, you can just type it in. And then we list the total number of parking spaces in the lot or structure. For this example, we have 25. And then the CCR designated priority community, we selected non-priority. Is this proposed installation located on a tribal reservation or trust land? Selected no. If you select yes to this question, you'll have a drop down for any of the tribes, the federally recognized tribes in the state of Oregon that you can select from. We're going to select no. And then we'll ask for the charging station operator as well as the electric utility. Again, the same question, does your electric utility offer incentives for commercial workplace or multifamily housing level 2 charging stations? We selected yes. Will you apply for the electric utility incentive? For this example, we selected no. You will need to state a reason for why you're not applying. So everybody, if your utility offers a utility incentive, you must apply. However, if there's a reason that you're ineligible or can't apply, we will ask why. And if that reason is out of your control, or if you have a statement from your utility stating why you're ineligible, we'll be able to accept that. So for this example, when they said no, that they wouldn't apply, the reason was that the utility incentive program is currently out of funding. And then you'll want to upload your site verification and recipient acknowledgement form. So for section 4, this is a new section because it's only in the post-installation portion. We request the installation date. So for pre-installation applications, the installation date must be within 270 days of the applicant's reservation date. For post-installation applications, the installation date must be no more than 90 days prior to submission of this application. Exceptions are provided for projects installed between the round 1 end date of October 6th, 2023 and round 2 launch date of March 5th, 2024. So keep that in mind. From this point, we'll ask for the level 2 charging information. So depending on which charger you decide to go with, we have the list here of eligible chargers. You can pick any one. For this example, we'll use ChargePoint. And then you'll select the model type. So depending on which model you have, you can select any of these, as well as the model name. And then you'll enter the kilowatt output, as well as the ports per charger. You can only include 1 or 2. I believe if you include 3, you'll get an error. Yep. There's a lot of features like that in this application where if you answer outside of the limits that are currently set, it'll redirect you. And then the quantity of chargers is 4. So then down below, you'll see the total high-powered level 2 charging ports installed and the total low-power level 2 charging ports installed. And it says, no applications that do not meet the port number requirements will be automatically denied. So please keep that in mind. And then please identify the level 2 networking status. So the options are networked, non-networked, and not applicable for level 1. And then you can select between, please identify your network. If your network isn't listed, you can type in the network that you're working with up above. How many hours will the level 2 charger be accessible to the public per week? We have 60 hours listed. Again, this is something that applies to, I believe, only the publicly accessible parking stations. This question may be asked for workplace as well, but it mostly applies to just publicly accessible parking stations. Will you charge a fee for charging at ports installed under this program? You can select yes or no. If you select yes, it will ask how much you're going to charge. And for this example, we did 1 cent. And if you're using a rate of charge other than dollars per kilowatt hour, you'll want to please describe and justify. And so you can list whatever information you want to list down here. So if yes, and you do plan to charge a fee, we do ask what the payment methods that you're offering are. This is a requirement of the program, so you'll need to select at least the credit/debit card. And then below we have the length of warranty in years. Warranties can be issued by a manufacturer, third party, or contractor and must be for a minimum of 2 years. Extended warranties are encouraged by ODOT. And then we also have the party responsible for maintenance and repair. And there's a note down below that says public projects must be maintenance contracts or service level agreements with a third party qualified to maintain the equipment. Is the project site participating in an EV infrastructure incentive program? You can select yes or no. If yes, it will ask, please list the other incentive programs for which this program will benefit. For this example, we did utility incentive and a state program, and then we listed the full combined amount. So we asked for the utility incentive beforehand, but if you have other incentives that you're applying for as well, you'll want to list them combined here. Has each new charger installed as part of this program been reported for the Alternative Fuels Data Center for inclusion in their alternative fueling station locator tool. You'll want to select yes for this, and there's a hyperlink below for where you can begin registering. And then has the EV equipment owner registered to be a credit generator in the Oregon Clean Fuels program? You'll want to select yes for this once you've been registered, and you can visit the link below to begin registering, as well as has each charger been registered as a fuel supply equipment in Oregon's Clean Fuels program. And again, there's a link down below. There's also the address as well if you need assistance, the email address for DEQ members to get assistance. And just make sure this is a requirement of the program, so you will need to be registered for all 3 of these to be able to answer yes. And then moving below, we have please identify any permits required for installation. Put the final electrical inspection in here, and then scan of required permits. You'll want to put the scan document here. Alternatively, if you your area doesn't have permits or offer permits for some reason, please upload a letter from your authority having jurisdiction that no permits were required. And then you'll want to submit the required site photos. So you'll want to include photos of EV charging equipment installed at the site that clearly displays the on-site signage or pavement markings. We'll need to see signage for each station. If you want examples of signage, you can find those in our guidelines. There are picture examples, and then we'll need photos of the serial numbers for each charging station, as well as photos of customer support numbers showing location on or near the charging equipment. Just in case the station isn't working, we need people to be able to have a customer support number to call. And then photos of pricing needs to be displayed clearly on the station. We'll need a picture of it on the station showing pricing per unit of sale and location on or near the charging equipment where applicable. So keep that in mind. If any of these photos are missing, or if one of the stations isn't shown or one of the stations is missing signage, we will incomplete the application and send it back to you and ask for that photo. So make sure when you're at the site and taking those photos that you take all of the required photos below. And then there's the W-9 street address. So you'll submit a W-9 form, and then we'll ask for the information to be listed here that's on the W-9 as well. So you'll want the address listed. And then we also included, I have double checked that the information entered on the W-9 form uploaded above is correct, and you'll want to check that off. And the reason why we ask is because if any of the information on the W-9 is incorrect or slightly modified, maybe your business name is listed as an acronym when it's normally spelled out, we will end up corresponding with you and asking for an updated W-9 form, and it will delay your payment, which is normally 45 business days. It might delay it a little bit longer. So please keep that in mind to submit an accurate and legible W-9 form. So moving on to page 5, we have the rebate calculation worksheet. Again, these are just example prices, as you can see. We have a box for equipment. I put $100,000, and then for installation, including labor and materials, we have $1. Planning, engineering, design costs, electric service upgrades, site lighting, project signage, network agreements. Make sure you only have the amount paid up to 3 years if you decide to pay in advance. The maintenance contract, again, paid up to 5 years if paid in advance. The ADA compliance costs, including curb cuts, path of travel, and striping. The electric micro mobility accommodations, if there are any. If there aren't, you can list 0 and move forward with your application. You won't receive an error. And then the extended warranty up to 5 years as well. And so below, it'll calculate your total eligible project costs. Make sure when you're submitting, you'll submit all of your invoices here, as well as including the equipment, installation, network agreement, and operations and maintenance contracts where applicable. And so you'll want to submit those into this. You can put a couple documents down here. And then you'll want to make sure that information matches the amounts listed in this rebate calculation worksheet. Otherwise, your project will be incompleted and sent back to be corrected. And then below, you'll want to list the total ineligible project costs. You'll list the sum here. And then next to it, we have please share details on the breakdown of ineligible project costs. So I broke it down into 500 for permit costs and 500 for admin costs, just to show an itemized version of the ineligible costs. So we know where those ineligible costs are coming from, and if they're located on your invoice, we can double check that. So below we have all of the calculations here, and this is for our applicant's reference. So you can see the total project costs as well as the project site type, the total number of high-powered and lower-powered level 2 chargers, as well as additional incentives received is listed here. Total eligible project costs less than additional incentives, so subtracted from that amount. And then we have the base rebate calculation based off of the per port amount, as well as the eligible project cost, 75% of that. And so you can see between these two calculations, the base rebate amount is less, so your total rebate would be $44,000 in this example. So it's whichever is less. So if your base rebate is higher than your eligible project cost, then you'll receive the rebate from your 75% of your eligible costs. There is a rebate calculator live on our website as well, if anybody would like to test it out. And then we have section 6 for signatures, as we went over in the pre-installation portion. So you'll want to check off all of these boxes that you've read and agree to the requirements outlined in the round 2 program guidelines, as well as you've uploaded the following required documents. And then you certify under penalty of perjury to the best of your knowledge that the information provided in the application and some more supporting documentation is correct. Again, below we have comments for the applicant reviewer. I added an example here. I was not able to submit a level 1 port. Please contact me at the listed email. And so that leaves a note for the reviewer to be able to contact them and kind of get an understanding of where they ran into issues and how they can help them. And then you'll include your signature as well as the date, and then you would click submit once you've finalized and move forward, or save if you want to come back to your application and keep working on it. And so with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, and then I will move forward to show you guys a few other documents. For some reason, it's not letting me stop sharing my screen. Is everyone able to hear me okay? I was on mute for some reason.
Oh, yep, we can hear you. We can see your screen as well.
Okay, I got a thumbs up. And can I get another thumbs up if you guys can see the map as well? Great, okay. Thank you. Thanks for the responses, I appreciate it. So here's an example of the priority type locator. Keep in mind, we have our priority type locator map on our website, but it's going to be slightly different. This version of the map should be published tomorrow at 8 in the morning, 8:30. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go over an example of how to use this map. When you're typing in your location, you'll want to wait until these listed below generate. And so we'll keep going. There we go. I see my address right here. I'm going to click on it. And then from here, it's going to answer. So you'll get this answer, priority community disadvantage. So when you're filling out your application, we have that question listed both in the pre-installation and post-installation portion. You'll want to take that and pop it in into your application and say, my project is listed in a priority community disadvantaged. And so you can submit any address you want into this, and it'll generate and show you which category you fall into or your project falls into. Every location in the state of Oregon is listed as either a priority or non-priority community. This map only differentiates which bucket of funding that you'll pull from. And so if you're maybe not sure of the address and want to look at the general area, you can look and see we have the key listed below. So there's rural, urban, and disadvantaged. So just looking at this map and seeing the hash marks, this would be considered urban and disadvantaged. So it'd fall into the priority community section with the, and it would be specified as disadvantaged. Okay, and with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I will go over very briefly the site verification and recipient acknowledgement form. So this form is currently listed on our website. And I believe either Brittany is going to put a link in the chat or we both will later on. But we tried to make this form really clear. If anybody applied for round 1 and is now looking at our application for round 2 and notices that we've cut down on a few things, it's because we put it into the site verification and recipient acknowledgement form. So at the beginning, I recommend everybody read this section. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Sorry about that. So we have the form instructions here. And again, if you're concerned about if you fall into the category as site owner, authorized agent, or third party, you can read these definitions here, and it'll help figure out which category you fall into. Depending on which category you fall into, you'll want to check the boxes as either I am a site owner, authorized agent, or third party. And this is for the person who's applying. So for the applicant, we'll say they're a site owner. They'll look down below and see that applicants need to complete sections 1 and 3, sections 3 through 5. So if you're an authorized agent, you want to complete sections 1, 3, and 5, and you'll want to have the site owner complete section 4. If you're a third party, you'll have the applicant complete sections 1 and 2, and the eligible owner will complete sections 3 and 5. Equipment owner will complete sections 3 and 5, and then the site owner will complete section 4. So keep that in mind. We've broken this application up into sections. We have section 1, 2, with third party applicants only will fill this section out. Section 3 for the equipment owner information. A lot of this information will need to match the application. So there will just be a verification that you're submitting the same information. And then, again, we do require either wet signatures or signatures from verified parties like DocuSign to come in here. So make sure you're not putting in a typed signature because we won't be able to accept that. We'll just send it back, which is why we didn't make it a fillable option. And then you'll keep going down. And you'll want to fill out all of this information. And then for section 5, we have the certification checklist, which used to be in our old application. So you'll want to check the boxes for everything listed here. And then you understand, keep going down. It's a lot of information, so I'm not going to read through everything for you guys, but then the deadlines acknowledgement form, checkbox, and same thing, I certify under penalty and perjury to the best of my knowledge that the information provided in this form is accurate, and then the equipment owner will need to sign off on it. So we'll get the equipment owner's signature here and the applicant's signature in the Cognito application. Perfect. And that is all I have for you guys. So if there's anything you guys want to go over again or focus on, and I'm sure there's a bunch of questions in the chat that we can cycle through, we can totally do that.
Yes, I will.
Oh, Brittany, I think you're on mute.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Is it just me? I can hear you. Oh, it's just me. Oh, shoot.
Oh. Okay. Can you hear me now, Jenna?
I can't hear you, but I'm tracking in the chat. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. Keep working on it. Sorry, Brittany. If there are any questions you want to answer in the time, feel free to while I work on my audio.
Okay. Yeah, there were a few questions that I didn't get to that we'll be sure to address in this portion once Jenna can hear again. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, just want to put it on everyone's radar that the application will open on March 5th at 9 a.m. Okay. Can you hear now, Jenna? Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Okay. So to the question, can I fill out the app before March 5th? It will only be available March 5th at 9 a.m. However, you can fill out the site verification form in advance and you can get the one quote ready that is required for the pre-installation portion. So those things you can do in advance, and typically the pre-install portion is pretty quick. I think Jenna maybe, yeah, she logged off and I think is going to log back in. All right. Okay, how long did it take before priority population funding ran out during the first round? Yes, priority funding. So the first round launched June 6th, I believe, or no, June 13th, and became reserved on October 6th. So it did take several months for priority funding to become reserved. Non-priority was definitely a lot quicker. I think that was reserved within a couple of weeks. So yeah, non-priority does go quite a bit faster. Okay. Looks like Jenna's back.
Okay, perfect. I can hear you and I am back. Sorry, everyone.
Perfect. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to rewind a little bit. There were a few questions that came up earlier that I want to make sure we address. And if I skip over anyone's question, feel free to enter it again into the chat. Do my best to get to all the ones that I missed. So 1 second here. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so one that I wanted to address, are applications eliminated if the equipment in the quote if the equipment in the quote uploaded is not currently on the EPRI list. So say if they get a quote from a charger that is not on the list, will that be valid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. We used to accept 2 quotes, so if you have a quote from the eligible equipment, we would prefer that, but if not, we will most likely accept one that isn't listed on the qualified charger list, but we would hope that everybody would install one from the qualified charger list.
Okay, and then another question was, if signatures are provided via DocuSign, does the compliance DocuSign page need to be included?
We would prefer for it to be included, but if not, we can usually see I believe it's like a serial number below the signature, and that's fine. But we would prefer for it to be included.
Is the charging station operator the network software provider as designated on the online application?
I believe so. Yes. but we can always follow up with you over email if I need to re-clarify.
Okay. Another question. Blink noted a warranty program as their maintenance program. Would this comply?
It would comply for workplace and multifamily housing. I believe we would need a valid service level agreement or maintenance contract to be submitted if it was publicly accessible parking.
Okay. What is the minimum time period for operation and maintenance contracts?
The minimum time period for how quickly it'll be finalized on your end or how much time we require on our
I
end.
think how much time do maintenance and maintenance and operations contracts have to be for? Was the question.
Check. So if you're gonna submit it as an eligible cost, up to 5 years if paid in advance.
Okay, and is Adobe Digital Signature accepted? This is when you were going over the site verification form.
So I don't believe we'll accept Adobe Digital Signature because it's typed, but if they want to use Adobe Digital Signature to actually sign and we can see that it looks like a signature and it's not just typed, then that'll be accepted.
Okay, and then somebody asked, what is a wet signature? I
A
believe
wet
that's the
signature
physical
is just an
signature.
ink signature. Yep, it's with a pen if you're gonna submit and scan a document.
Okay, and then someone had asked when site address is different from PO address of HOA, where is this shown? Not quite sure what that question is asking, actually.
So I'm not sure if you're also referring to the W-9, if you have a PO box on your W-9, but we would need the site address to be similar to or the same as the site location where the charging stations are located. So we wouldn't accept a PO address for the project site location.
Okay, will funds be earmarked for a project at time of pre-application? Fear of funds run out before completion.
So hopefully I'm getting at this right. Project at the time of pre-application. So when you're filling out the pre-installation application, if you have an application that you're saving, it is time stamped, but it's not in the queue until you submit the pre-installation application. So once you submit the pre-installation application, then we'll go through and review it in the order of the queue. But if your project is marked as additional information requested because anything is missing or something was marked wrong, then we'll send it back to you. You'll receive an email, and then you'll have to go through, fix the issue, resubmit, and then your form will be at the bottom of the queue, and then we'll go through and review them in that cycle. So it is important to put correct information in the first time.
Okay, and next question, do we need to include costs of maintenance contract / network provider in the pre-installation application? No, I believe you'll just include those costs in the post-installation application. Is that correct, Jenna?
Yep, that's correct. And we'll ask for that documentation there as well.
Does the network provider also need to be in the qualified vendor list? Yes, the network provider must be in the list that is on ODOT's list of eligible chargers, which I can also pop into the chat.
And if it's not listed there too, you can always type in your network provider into the application and just make a note. If you want to leave a note for the reviewer at the end and just say it wasn't listed, then you can just type it in and then leave a note for the reviewer that it wasn't on the qualified charger list.
Okay, with the EPRI vetted equipment list, there are very few overlaps between the utility program equipment list and the ODOT equipment list. Will the EPRI list be expanded to coincide with the utility equipment list? Yeah, so PGE and Pack Power are actually also going to be moving over to the EPRI list as well. So I would anticipate that likely the lists will become pretty similar. But yeah, I believe that they're in the process as well.
Yeah, and ODOT does have its own minimums, like qualifications and specifications for the systems, so it might slightly vary from both PGE and Pacific Power. But if any EVSPs would like to apply to get on the EPRI list and believe that you meet ODOT's minimum qualifications, you're more than welcome to apply. We can provide that information later, or you can see it on our list. There's a link to it where you can get more information and insight on how to get on that EPRI list.
Once we've submitted an application and been approved, will our funds be earmarked at that time so we know we have them? Yes, once your application has been approved, that funding is reserved for you. It won't go anywhere. Yeah, though you won't lose those funds once ODOT has notified you that you've reserved the funding.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you'll also receive an email from us stating that.
Okay, is there a timeline on when that change will happen? I'm not sure exactly for when PGE and Pack Power are moving over to the EPRI list. I don't know, Jenna, have you heard anything from them? Okay.
No, there's no estimated time on our end for when they'll switch over.
Okay, what is the ODOT equipment requirement that EPRI is using to vet equipment? Yeah, so I will link again. If you scroll down on ODOT's eligible chargers list, all the way down, they have their minimum specifications listed out of what ODOT is looking for their chargers, as well as networking requirements as well. So I encourage you to take a look at this document. It's on pages 4 and 5.
And I see Sean's question as well. Sorry, Brittany, I'll just read it really quick. If the network is not listed on the approved chargers list, can we still get approval? So, yes, if they're not currently listed on the approved chargers list, but they're the network provider, you can type in your network if it's not listed in the drop down on the application, and you can fill that out individually. You'll just type it in, and then you can leave a note at the end for the commenter, and then we'll go through and make note of that and move forward with your application. But the charging equipment still needs to be on the approved chargers list.
Okay. If we submit a pre-installation application and are funded, do we also have to do the post-installation application? Yes. So if you submit the pre-installation application, the process is once you are notified that you reserve funding, you'll have 270 days to complete your installation process. And then you fill out the post-installation application once your chargers have been completely installed and are functional or are functioning to the public. Yep, you'll submit things like the final invoices, and photos of your equipment and everything that Jenna showed in the post-installation portion. So yes, you will fill that part out no matter what. Okay, so for all applicants, there is a minimum of 2 years for networking. Is that correct? Up to 5 years if prepaid. Let me double check. Jenna, do you know off the top of your head if it's a minimum of 2 years?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, so for the all applicants, it's not a requirement for multifamily housing. So keep that in mind. And for the minimum of 2 years, it is a minimum of 2 years paid in advance, I believe. Brittany, do you mind double checking that? Might be 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, so the network agreement is up to 3 years if paid in advance for eligible project costs. So they'll pay for up to 3 years.
Perfect. Thanks, Brittany.
Sorry about that.
Go for it. Well, I didn't even read the question. You can read it out loud.
Why are you required to pay in advance for networking charters?
Yeah, so we're not requiring to pay in advance. There's no requirement to pay ahead of time, but if you want to pay in advance to include it as an eligible cost to be listed in and go towards your 75% of eligible cost rebate calculation, that's a way that you can do that. So it's not a requirement for it to be paid in advance, but if you want to include it, you're more than welcome to. No problem.
Okay, thank you everyone for the questions. Yeah, we'll continue to wait and see if anything else comes in.
And if anybody wants me to go over any sections of the application, just let me know and I can pull my screen up and share my screen again.
Okay, so with an HOA, site address is an individual unit building next to the parking spaces, not the HOA. Anything sent by mail to the HOA must go to the HOA PO box. Is this differentiated on the application form or site verification form?
So I'm assuming that you're referring to where the check will be sent, when it will be sent, and if that's the case, then you would put the PO box address on the W-9 because we are sending the check out to the W-9 address. So keep that in mind. But for the project site address and everything else in the application that requests the project site address, you will want to do the physical location for where the charging stations will be listed. So the payment will automatically be sent to the W-9 address.
Okay.
And the check is the only thing that gets mailed to the applicants. So there is no other mailing going out. So keep that in mind.
Okay, so the next question, I have installed some chargers and I'm just finalizing the network setup. Should I pre-apply if I don't have everything set up by the 5th? So if your chargers are already installed, you'll want to do the post-installation application, not the pre-install. So yeah, you won't need to fill out that portion, just the post-installation if you already have your charger set up. Is networking required for an apartment complex that does not plan to charge for the power consumption? Multifamily, including apartment complexes, do not have to have networked chargers. It's only publicly accessible, and then work sites, I believe, are required to have networking. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The Zerova 40 station is pre-approved on the SCE, SoCal Edison charge ready list and was vetted by EPRI. Is this a station we'd be able to see on the ODOT list? I need to see if it's on the ODOT list, but if it's not included, currently I would assume that it doesn't meet ODOT's minimum specifications that we were talking about earlier.
And those minimum specifications are listed on that guide to, or the qualified chargers list. So if you want to review those as well, you can put that in the chat.
And then Kevin asked, how do we get on the approved network list? Yeah, so I will link where you can go to get qualified. I believe it's a matter of filling out a checklist on EPRI's side. And then I think there's a small payment involved. But yeah, I will provide a link where you can go to get qualified.
Perfect. And while you do that, Mike Runer responded that there's a Zerova charger on the approved list. So thank you, Mike. Oh, but it appears it's not the 40A. So yeah, I would get in contact with EPRI and see if you guys can get qualified. However, if they're not currently, then it sounds like they may not meet ODOT's minimum specifications. And also, I do want to note that if you are working with EPRI to get on that list and get your chargers on that list and you've been approved, they update roughly every 1 to 2 months. So if they have approved you and you can provide confirmation that you have been approved, but you're just not showing up on the list quite yet, we can put you on the ODOT list before they update their actual list, as long as they have confirmation of approval. Perfect. And if anybody needs to head out early too, this session will be recorded. So if you miss any of the questions, we will be recording and publishing this on our website later today or tomorrow. So keep that in mind. We will be publishing a PDF of the application on the webpage as well, so you can look through it. And then the link for the application will be published on March 5th at 9 a.m. I also want to note too, if anybody has clarifying questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to Fourth or ODOT, either of the emails that we have. Yes, I can list them in the chat as well. Yeah, so keep that in mind. You do that now. And if you have any residual questions too, you can always look at the program guidelines. They are currently listed in draft form on the webpage. Both the guidelines as well as this application are subject to change before the launch date, but so currently they're in draft form. So we may make slight modifications, but it shouldn't be anything too major. And I put the ODOT Community Charging Rebates Program email in the chat. If you have any questions, you can follow up there. Or Fourth's email as well, listed above. Perfect. And Brittany, is there a survey linked to this at the end?
Yeah, there will be a survey that we'll send out right after. And feel free to put any feedback that you have about the session in that survey, or if you have extra questions or want to follow up after this session, feel free to put that in the survey as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. It looks like we're not getting any more questions, so thank you everybody for attending. I hope this was really clear and you understand the application and feel comfortable with it before applying. Like I said, we will be putting this recording up online, so you can always use it as a reference in the future. We will also be submitting a pre- and post-installation application guide on our webpage in the next few days, so that will go live as soon as possible. So keep that in mind. If you get stuck, we'll have that guide for everyone. And thank you for all attending today. We really appreciate it, and we're happy everybody is excited for the Community Charging Rebates program.
Thank you, everyone.